Britain is becoming increasingly Islamophobic, with youngsters drawn to far-right organisations, according to campaign group Hope Not Hate. The group found that more than a third of Britons think that Islam poses a threat to the British way of life, whereas only 30% thought that Islam is compatible with British culture. Meanwhile, a third believe there are no-go areas in the UK for non-Muslims. And the report also concluded that children as young as 13 are now joining neo-Nazi movements. Well, to discuss this, I'm now joined by the Chief Executive of the Ramadan Foundation, Mohammed Shafiq. Mohammed, thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Bill.
Is this really a big issue? Yes, a third of people say Islam's incompatible with our values, but that means the rest are not, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you could put it that way as well, but you could also talk about the way in which the environment in which we live in this country has perpetuated a cycle of Islamophobia towards Muslims. So whether it's in politicians doing that or whether it's media commentators who've casualized and normalized Islamophobia in our society, where people think it's then acceptable to answer opinion polls by saying, yeah, it's not compatible with British values and British society.
Is this fueled, though, rather than by discrimination, but by fear? Because many people would understandably be afraid. We've just been hearing that an ISIS bride might be allowed back into the UK. And, of course, the report does mention those awful attacks back in 2017 as a reason for the rise in Islamophobia. So it's not just an irrational fear, is it?
Well, it's based, as I said, on comments that people are making, but there is a wider issue here.
Yeah, but those aren't comments, those are things that actually have happened.
Well, they are a big problem in our society. When people take violence and kill innocent people, then that is a problem, as it is when a mosque was attacked in 2017 at Finsbury Park Mosque. We see it on a daily basis in some parts of this country where Muslim women are attacked, where Islamophobic comments are made on social media, mosques are firebombed, innocent people are killed, like Mohsin Ahmed in Rotherham only a few years ago. So the reality of Islamophobia exists, and I think it's really good news that Hope Not Hate have produced this report, which is a definitive indication about what the reality is in this country.
And much of it based on misinformation, perhaps misconception. Should community leaders like yourself be addressing this? I mean, what are you doing about this?
Well, Bill, I've been on your program many times over the years. We are engaged in taking on the battle to confront and to defeat terrorist organizations and their ideology. We have been very clear that we need to come together as a country and banish the division of either ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or the far right. The big problem in this report, which is clear now, is there is an ever-increasing threat from the far right, which has been minimized and ignored for too long in our country. It's easy to bash Muslims and use our community as a political football to score political points on the back of your leadership credentials within the Conservative Party, for example. And it's much different if you look at the wider context in which we operate in this country, where racism and xenophobia is common, as we saw today from Angela Smith at her new party launch.
You talk about the far right, of course, but the influence of Tommy Robinson and his ilk, surely that's minor in comparison to some of those Islamists.
I don't see any difference. They're two cheeks of the same backside. The ISIS-inspired terrorists want to kill and maim innocent people and hold every single non-Muslim responsible for what the Americans and British did in Iraq, or what's happening in Palestine or Libya. And then you've got the far right who want to blame every ill of society on the actions of the Muslims. So actually they have a lot more in common together than what divides them. And I think that's the key. The key is actually let's unite communities to come together to defeat ISIS, but also to reject the hatred and xenophobia of the far right. And
where should that be coming from? From government level, that key you're talking about?
Yeah, as we saw in the reaction to Shamima Begum, the Home Secretary Sajid Javid was very quick to try to appear to look tough because he wants to participate in a leadership election in the Conservative Party. But then reality has really sunk in today, where he actually says he's helpless from not ensuring that British law is implemented.